Now, you must have heard of being vulnerable. How many of us are really vulnerable? I don't think many of us are. However, today we've got Adam and Priscilla from Armed for Life. This gentleman is going to actually talk to you about being vulnerable and actually tell you what it actually means. Okay, so Adam, welcome. You've spoken at about 200 schools, spoken to over 900,000 students over the last 20 years, and you've helped them with mental health issues. And this is again going back to what the issues that you had when you were at school, and you've basically taken it on and saying, I'm going to help these kids deal with the health issues, whether it's bullying or self-confidence or and various other things. So tell us more about it. So welcome to the interview as well.
Thank you. Everything I do with Armed for Life was kind of based on my own experience in school. I didn't have a great experience in primary school. I don't really have any happy memories of being home. And as a result of that, I would try and find my value at school, and I was champion boy year 1, 2, 3 and 4, but then year 4, long story short, certain eczema was found on the bottom of my feet, and I was given cortisone tablets. I was on the roids in year 4 and gained a whole bunch of weight. Like, I doubled in size. So I lost my sporting ability, my confidence, where I was finding my value, and the bullying started. And so by year 5 and 6 I turned to the academic side, so I did PAC. And then year 7, my own friends turned on me, so I was even bullied by my friends. So I stepped into high school in year 8 with no confidence, no self-esteem. The bullying started day 1, and I didn't find a friendship group till the middle of year 9. And into the middle of all of that, the parents divorced in year 8, and so I was a mess. And by the year 10, I had a plan in place to take my own life. For me, the bullying was kind of what took me to that point, and I didn't really recover. I got out of school and joined a team going into schools because, I shut down the whole 5 years of high school. Didn't have good enough grades to get into a single university course, so I joined a team going into schools and then realised I needed help the whole 5 years, and no one was there to give it. And so that's where the seed was planted for me to do what I do. So I stayed with that other organisation, became the coordinator, pulled away after about 6, 7 years to get my teaching degree, became a chaplain in a school, finished my degree, and then turned towards so I started Armed for Life 7 years ago. So that figure with 280 schools and 900,000 students is just in the last 7 years with the organisation that I'm running, and it's all fueled by struggling the whole 5 years of high school for myself and realising I needed help that 5 years because I was struggling with depression and anxiety.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I've only known you a couple of years when I met you at the Influential 100 Awards that you won. And I think since then you've actually won the Telstra Micro Business of the Year and quite a few other awards as well, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So with what you do, Adam, vulnerability is something it's a key factor that basically comes out really strongly. So tell us what does being vulnerable actually mean, and how does that relate to to people who are watching, whether they're in business or not?
I think I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a psychologist recently, and we were talking about what vulnerability actually means. Because I used to think that my vulnerability was a flaw. I've grown up as a teenager, as a kid and a teenager, I didn't really talk about any of my problems, and then as a young adult I would kind of tell everyone, and so then I thought my vulnerability was a flaw. And there's a difference between feeling vulnerable and being vulnerable, or projecting vulnerability. I think feeling vulnerable is uncomfortable, and it's usually tied with negative feelings and a kind of a negative framework, whereas projecting vulnerability and being vulnerable is actually a positive thing. There's a strength in being vulnerable and projecting vulnerability. What it basically means is owning faults and flaws and kind of being open and honest about it. And there is a certain level of honesty and I guess level of being open that means that people trust you when you're vulnerable, and that's one of the powers of being vulnerable. And so without realising it, when I started Armed for Life 7 years ago, I was choosing to be vulnerable in the sessions that I was running. So no matter what session I run, whether it's in a school, whether it's for parents or staff in a school, whether it's a business breakfast, when I'm talking from this perspective of being vulnerable and things that I've struggled with in the past, things that I haven't done well. And it's always, especially in the early years, it was received incredibly well, and I couldn't really figure out why. And what was kind of different about me speaking compared to other people that I had heard speak. And it was this element of vulnerability, talking about being bullied every single day of my high school life, having a suicide plan in place, not having any resilience and not responding to problems well, having, as about as low a self-esteem as you can get. And then as a result of all of that, then turning to certain coping mechanisms as a teenager, that the roll-on effect, being addicted to gaming and pornography, the roll-on effect, 10 to 12 years of damaged relationships and, having to kind of break those addictive patterns. Being vulnerable with those kinds of things has meant that, I think especially with teenagers, they see through arrogance, they see through, false confidence, and they can tell when someone really cares about them and likes them. I think most people can. And so I think vulnerability breaks all that down, and people can, especially no matter what circumstance you're in, if you have to relate to people, vulnerability is one of the most powerful things that we can do. And that's, now that I know that, I use it to my advantage to kind of draw people in and engage people when I'm speaking, so that they then switch on and hear the practical points that I have with whatever topic I'm talking about.
So it's complete opposite to what we generally feel ourselves, and being vulnerable makes us feel that we're going to be judged. But obviously it's worked for you, and obviously it's working for a lot of the people that you're helping as well.
Yes.
So you touched on confidence versus arrogance. Can you there's a fine line there, isn't there?
There is. I think arrogance, most people recognise that arrogance isn't a positive thing. I've met a few people that have actually been proud that they're arrogant, which confuses me. Arrogance is different to confidence, because confidence is kind of quiet. Confidence, if you know you're good at something, you don't have to tell everybody. You're kind of like, yep, I'm good at that, that's a strength I have, great, I'm going to use that for whatever benefit I can, and use it to benefit other people. Arrogance, you have to tell everyone. I'm great at this, I'm good at this, did you see this award I got? Arrogance is that, and arrogance is either knowing you're good at something and then having to tell everyone, or it's fake confidence and pretending to be good at something, or trying to wear a mask, or trying to convince people that you're good at something when you're actually not. And people also, I think most of the time people see through that as well. Arrogance just turns people off, because people who are trying to portray something they're not, then you can't trust someone like that. So then people don't tend to trust people that are arrogant. But when you have confidence, and you're okay in that, and you're quiet in that, and you can sit in that and just do whatever you need to do, I think people are drawn to that because there's a skill level, but you don't have to tell everyone.
It's actually a catch-22 these days, and when it comes to business authority as such, you're really good at what you do, you need more business.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone can do with more business. If you can't cope with business yourself, you put more people on, and that's how you grow your business, right? Yeah. So unless you can project that you are good at what you do, you are not getting that extra business, and you're not getting that extra credibility, and you're not portraying that. Yeah. So it's a bit of it's a catch-22 with confidence, and actually portraying that and telling people that you're good at it. Yeah. When you actually, if you're not good at what you do, there are still people who do that. Yeah. But so it's, you have to make an informed decision who's actually genuine, who's actually not. Yeah. And that comes back to a lot of other factors as well.
Well, I think for me, I hate promoting myself. I hate kind of going out there and saying, hey, look at me, this is great, I'm amazing at this. I can't, it's the worst part of my job. If I ever get the opportunity, I just say, just put me up in front of a group and just give me 10 minutes to speak. Yeah. Because that speaks more than anything. Yeah. And it's not about me saying, look at me, I'm great. It's just that I have been doing this for 20 years and I know that I'm good at it. I know it's what I'm gifted in. And so people tell me all the time how I'm speaking to teenagers, and teachers will come up and say, I don't know about the kids, but I got heaps from that. Because I've framed the things that I do when I speak to specifically towards whoever I'm speaking to. Yeah. And so that's, but I'm confident in that. Yeah. I don't tell everyone about that, and I have to try and, I try and pull back from that as much as I can, because I just don't like it.
I think there's 5 components to actually projecting. If you're a business authority, if you're really good at what you do. Firstly, people are raving about you. It's not you raving about yourself, but someone else is raving about you. You're being interviewed, like yourself. I wanted to interview you because I wanted people to hear your message. So I'm interviewing you. So I think that's one of the other key factors. The other thing is you're actually writing a book or a chapter in a book as well, which again shows that you want to share your knowledge with others. you're actually being interviewed, or you're writing in magazines and other forums and that kind of stuff, blogs, and you're speaking in public, and you qualify for all 5, so that's why you're here. so just to move along quickly, we want to touch on resilience, and you have a really awesome tool, a PDF ebook that you're going to send to people on resilience. So let's talk about resilience a little bit, and then tell the audience who is watching as to what they're going to get by putting some of their details below.
Sure. Out of there's about 30 topics that Arm for Life speaks on in schools now, resilience, I didn't start with resilience. I started with bullying and self-esteem just because of my own journey and what I experienced. Within about 6 months, I had a number of schools asking for the topic resilience. This is 7 years ago, when resilience was just beginning to become a buzzword. And I was like, okay. And so then I put it together. But it's been the #1 book session since, for students, for teachers, and for parents. And when I'm speaking business-wise, it's probably equal up the top. And so it's a subject that is incredibly important. When you start breaking down what resilience is and understanding that resilience has to do with how you deal with problems, basically if you don't have resilience, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life, which sucks. And that's coming from experience. I had no resilience my whole childhood and all my teenage years. And so every time a problem came my way, I would completely fall apart. And I had to work on it. It's a quality that we can develop, that we can get better at. And so over the course through my 20s, I had to really work on it and put certain things in place. And so, the 2 kind of sections that I talk about when I talk about resilience, the first one is the 3 shields that we have to have in place that actually protect us, because it's really pain that stops us from actually being resilient. If we have low self-esteem, or we're already in pain, or we've experienced a crisis or a trauma, then we get hit with something. It's the pain that stops us from being able to manage it. And so the shields that we can put in place, there's 3 of them: healthy relationships, self-awareness, and positive thinking. When we have them in place, and you can fully break them down and spend a whole hour on each of those points, but they're all important, and they all actually provide a protection of some kind and help. It's almost like wearing padding, getting hit by something physically. That padding will absorb the hit. Same with when we've got those healthy shields in place when it comes to the problems that we face. And then if we have those in place, then in direct response to the problem, we're either passive, reactive, or responsive. And passive doesn't help anything, and being reactive doesn't actually help either. And having those shields in place helps us to be more responsive, because reactive really is an emotional response, and it doesn't work in dealing with problems. And so, being responsive means we stay calm, problem solve, and choose what's right. We can't even do any of that if we don't have those shields in place, especially if we're experiencing pain of some kind. So those shields, I think we can go into more detail.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So obviously, people can contact you by going into armedforlife.com.au. And obviously you do go and speak at organizations and various other schools. I don't know how many more schools you've got left since you've done 280.
There's plenty more, don't worry.
But they can keep coming back.
But
other than that fact is, you can, by putting the details below, you'll be able to send them more details on how the healthy shields that you need to actually deal with real life problems. So Adam, it's been a pleasure having you here, and thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you again soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.